Last week, Parker uploaded a video where he ranked all of the current Wii U ports announced and/or revealed for Nintendo Switch. Today, though, I want to do something that we love to do here even more: hope, dream, and speculate about all of the Wii U games that are also worth making the jump to Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about it. Over the weekend, more fuel was added to the fire that is Skyward Sword Remasters coming to Nintendo Switch, when an Amazon UK listing went up for the remaster and quickly rose up the bestsellers chart, reaching number 5 before being taken down. By the way, if you would like to see a video about how I think Nintendo can make Skyward Sword a better game with this theoretical remake, let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you haven't already to see that theoretical video. But I digress. It's obvious that the appetite for Zelda games is there. I personally would love to see Nintendo Switch become what Wii U was for the Zelda franchise, being the unmatched place to play for all Zelda fans, given the ability it affords to play almost every major Zelda title released to date. This made me come to the realization that Nintendo would be insane if they neglected to port the already completed Zelda remakes that are available on Wii U. The first of these titles is Legend of Zelda: Wind Waker, which prior to the release of Breath of the Wild went back and forth with Link to the Past for the title of my personal favorite Zelda game. The story was engaging, the character designs are iconic, the gameplay was greatly improved from the 3D Zelda games that preceded it in my opinion. Visually, it's amongst the most timeless games of all time on any platform, and on Wii U that was only underscored by the jump to 1080p. Improvements to the original game were made in its structure, making an already phenomenal game even tighter, and small quality of life improvements like the gamepad map and other UI elements, RIP Wii U gamepad, made the HD remaster even better than the original. Again, in my opinion, they could just plop that remaster on Switch completely untouched and it would be worth every penny of a full price title. But if they wanted to add some extra value, they could bump the frame rate from 30 frames per second to 60 frames, add HD rumble, maybe some cosmetic additions like a Breath of the Wild tunic for Link, maybe add additional content like extra dungeons or something like that. But again, this would all be additive. None of this stuff is necessary. Twilight Princess, on the other hand, is amongst my least favorite Zelda games, and I know every Zelda game is somebody's favorite, so I will refrain from airing my grievances here. I'll just leave this part at saying I did buy this game on Wii U even after not enjoying the original on the Wii. If it were to come to Switch, I would inevitably buy that too, so Nintendo should definitely bring it over. I'm not sure what I'd like to see them add to a theoretical Switch version, so Twilight Princess fans, feel free to let me know. What would be additions Nintendo could package in to make this game worth picking up at full price? Because we all know that'll be the price. Or we could just chalk them both up to being bundled together completely untouched for that $60 MSRP. They don't necessarily need to make them better. It's clear those games are beloved by many in their original form, let alone their Wii U versions that many have yet to experience. Speaking of porting games many have yet to experience while making them better in the process, I think Star Fox Zero is a perfect candidate for a Nintendo Switch Deluxe Edition release. This is a game that, while I personally enjoyed it for what it was, in the same way that I would enjoy an arcade experience with similar control methods, most entirely wrote the game off on Wii U because of its use of the gamepad, again, RIP gamepad, but I genuinely think, even removed from my difference of opinion regarding the motion control and second screen implementation, Star Fox Zero was a genuinely good game that, if players were given the option for traditional controls, could see a second life on Switch. Also, I think it'd be a good idea to expand on its content with new levels, challenge modes, and a competitive multiplayer aspect similar to the modes seen in past Star Fox games with additional playable characters. Something like that might just win over a bigger audience than the first time around. That said, I'm not sure if even I think traditional Star Fox games are worth a $60 price tag in 2020. But reworking Star Fox Zero in particular in this way would be the best way to see if I'm wrong in making that assumption, I think. Excluding Smash 4, Nintendo Land had to be my favorite multiplayer experience on Wii U. Each minigame came with a ton of fun and replayability, and even better than that, it gave some shine to characters that weren't getting much of any at that time. False hopes for fully featured experiences for those franchises aside, I still value minigames like Metroid Blast for giving me a fun alternative to play through, with that game in particular being an an experience that I'd honestly say rivaled, if not surpassed, my enjoyment of past games in its series. Obviously, a lot of these games would need some pretty heavy retooling if they're expected to work on Nintendo Switch, with the asymmetric multiplayer games in particular requiring maybe a supplemental app akin to the one Nintendo made available for Clubhouse Games that would allow for the use of 2 Nintendo Switches for local multiplayer, given the fact that only having one screen would break the appeal of games like Mario Chase. Other than that, I'd hope against hope that Nintendo would include an online multiplayer option for all of the games that support multiplayer, and maybe even add a few more games with references to more franchises. Give me Ice Climber and Duck Hunt games or something. I feel like Nintendo is losing out on a lot of potential new users that have nostalgia for the Wii due to their failure to treat Wii Sports with the same level of reverence that Bethesda gives Skyrim. As long as they have a console with motion capabilities, Wii Sports should be on it. Wii Sports Club was an odd application of this idea with their attempt at a rental system of sorts, but I still think the concept of having this game available in some way makes a lot of sense. So although it's more of a port, I think bringing over Wii Sports Club makes all of the sense in the world. And honestly, even discounting the casual fans that Nintendo has lost since the days of the Wii, I don't know a current gamer alive that doesn't have some level of nostalgia for the games included in the original Wii Sports. And I will repeat once again, online multiplayer, Nintendo, seriously. Super Mario 3D World is a game that I feel has a ton of untapped potential when it comes to finding a decently sized audience of new fans by way of a Switch Deluxe Edition. I know for a fact I'm not alone in thinking that, since that's been the only unconfirmed frontrunner for most rumored Wii U Switch ports since before Switch came out. Hell, since before Switch was confirmed to be called Switch to begin with. There's a ton of YouTube videos talking hopes for this game, and I mostly echo those. Give us some new characters, maybe some new Captain Toad stuff, say it with me now, online multiplayer, and we'll have a game with the potential to easily creep into the list of Nintendo's top 15 bestsellers on the platform, if not replacing New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe in the bottom of top 10. Finally, I'm going to close this out by giving honorable mentions. One to a game that I personally like but know others were at best lukewarm on, and I'd honestly probably be lukewarm on without the gamepad support, and a game that I think would make a lot of people happy, but I personally don't care much for it. Starting with the latter, Zombie U. One of the few games that, for better or worse, bet the bank on its gamepad support, Zombie U is a game that I enjoyed a lot more than I feel most did. I like the concept of using the Wii U gamepad for item management while simultaneously traversing the world and fending off the zombies that infested it. This game later found a new home on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and it's for that reason I think it'd only be right for it to be available on Switch. But I can't say this game holds its charm for me on those other platforms with their obvious lack for gamepad support, and I'd bet Switch would be no different. So I can take or leave this one, but I do think that it would be nice to have the game return home on a current Nintendo platform. And finally, Xenoblade Chronicles X is a game that a lot of people have been clamoring for, and with the release of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, it could be a smart move to bring over a definitive edition of sorts for X as well. I have no strong opinions about the game itself. I played the original, didn't really care for it after being disappointed by the scale gameplay after trudging through the initial 30 hours or so to unlock the ability to pilot one, but I know other people love it and other people would love to try it, so Nintendo should definitely bring it over if Monolith Soft can figure out how to make it happen or whatever. And those are my thoughts on all of the worthwhile Wii U games that should come to Nintendo Switch. What do you think? Which of the games would you pick up? What additional content would you like to see implemented in them? Let me know all of that and more in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider clicking the like button and subscribe, as well as ringing the bell to be notified when new videos go up here every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, that's it for me. See you next week.